Welcome to our Tech Tuesday for today on February 20th. We're going to be going over the first set of Moodle questions today. It's a continuation of the one that we did 2 weeks ago, and we're going to kind of use my class today to do it with, so that I can use some questions I already have set up to go through those different kind of questions today. So I'm going to go ahead and go down in my class to a quiz that's already set up. It's my Chapter 7 test. We already went over all the test setup stuff last class, but you can see I already have questions in there, and again, we kind of stopped right there. This numbers on the side is a weighting versus other questions. So you can see down here that true-false questions, which is what that dot is, are weighted 1 relative point, whereas this multiple choice is 2. So those are worth twice as much in the total calculation. So I'm going to add some questions and go through and talk about how to add the different kind of questions that we're going over today. So is it working yet? You're not getting into which thing yet? Dan's trying to sign into the chat to see if the chat's working, because
it's Mr. NT tech.
No, sign in as you.
I did sign into it. I'm trying to get to it.
Oh. No, Mr. NT Tech is just go to youtube.nationaltrail.us and it takes you right to the channel, and then you can click live channel. That'll take you right there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go through. Now, as we talked about last week, there's multiple ways to add questions. You can do it through the question bank itself, under questions on the left-hand side, or in this case, we're inside a test. We just go to the edit quiz, and then we see the quiz here, and we can add a question just by clicking add and choosing add new question. Either one does the same thing. This one's going to add it to my quiz as I add the question. So I'm going to click add new question. We get the list of questions, and we're doing the basic ones that apply to, in Dan and I's opinion, everyone, and then we're going to kind of go to these more advanced questions starting next class. So I'm going to start with true false as the most basic one. You can see its symbol is that dot right there. So I'm going to go ahead and click true false and say add. We talked about last week, the very first thing we want to do is have categories set up, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Chapter 7, which is the one that I'm working in right now. And I'm going to jump down to my Chapter 7 icons, because as I said last week, when I make a question, I make sure it's relative to one of my ICANN statements. So I already made a document saying what the questions are, so I can just copy and paste and not have to type them. So this is a question about an SSD drive. As we said last week, the question name here, no one sees other than us. So I'm going to put the basic start of the question there, and then I always start mine with the ICANN that it pertains to. So in this case, I'm looking there, it's ICANN 7-10. So the way I start all my questions out is the ICANN that it goes to, so that I can sort them by ICANN later if I want to, and find if I'm spreading out my ICANN statement questions and if I'm covering everything. So that's a technique. You don't have to do that, but it makes it easier later. Did you get it? Okay. So if you're watching, Dan got in with youtube.nationaltrail.us, and then did you have to log on to YouTube in order to get into the chat?
I did anyways. Okay. As a default, when I go into Chrome, I automatically log in.
Automatically logs in. Okay, so can you chat? Can you chat?
I've already put it on there, welcoming people to ask questions.
Okay, great. So Dan is our moderator today. It's going to keep me on task. Okay, so the first thing is question name. I already added that. Like I said, I put something at the front, and that helps me organizationally later too. The question text is what the students see. So I'm going to copy and paste, and you can do this from any old test. You can just copy and paste it in there, and the question or the statement in, an SSD drive is better than a conventional drive because it will last much longer and is much more reliable. And this is a true or false, so that's a statement. Default points is that relative point scale, and I always have true or false as ones and build everything up from there. So I'm going to leave it as 1. Don't use feedback. I just need to say what the correct answer is, whether it's true or false. And in this case, the answer to that is false. That is an untrue statement. And in a true or false, that's all I have to do and I'm done. I go down to the bottom and I hit Save Changes and I'm finished. So I just added that true or false question to my test, this one right here. And if I want to preview it, I can hit the little magnifying glass on the right-hand side. That is not the one I added. It's right below there. There we go. And it'll sound just like this. An SSD drive is better than the conventional drive. It lasts longer. And then, because we selected random, when we set up our test, these, one person's going to see true, false, one person's going to see false, true. It's going to randomize those. I'd say the true, false is the easiest one to set up. It's also the least accurate in determining how well our students know our information. So I use them, but I don't use them much, and they're worth the least amount. Is there anything you think I can add there, Dan, to true or false?
You don't actually have to use the words true or false. I mean, you could actually replace it with some other word if you wanted to.
Okay.
It's basically, it's a two-choice, multiple-choice question.
So that is down where? Where would you change the answers? Is there a place to change that? I did not. I have never changed it to anything else.
No, I'm sorry. I am thinking of the multiple choice one.
You are making me feel silly. Okay, so it is true or false. The answers are true or false. I will tell you that if I want it to be a yes/no, I will put in the text true equals yes, false equals no.
Yeah.
Just because I thought you were going to teach me something there. You didn't teach me.
Trying to watch a couple different things at the same time.
Okay, so there's true false questions. Those are really, really easy to set up. And then obviously after I hit Save Changes, I just come back here. Right now they're not repaginated if that's a word. When I'm done with my whole test, I will hit repaginate and I'll say, hey, do you want to make it one question per page? I say yes, and then it's going to scramble everything. So I'm going to add another question. The next one we're going to do, and I've got two different kinds. I got multiple choice one answer, which is the easy one. I'm going to go over that first. And then I've got a multiple choice multiple answer, which is the two ways that we can do multiple choice. So I'm going to add a new question. I'm going to do multiple choice. Either option is under multiple choice, and I'm going to click Add. Again, it defaults now that I've already added one. It's staying in Chapter 7. And I'm going to take a look at my, well, I know it's 7-10 because I'm asking both these questions I came up with were over the same area. So I'm going to add my ICANN in there. And then let's see. My question I'm going to just add in there. Oop. Under the question name, and then I'm going to add that into question text too. So this is a multiple choice. Which of the following is true about SSD drives? Now, it's a multiple choice, so I always make those work twice as much as a true or false, so I change the default to 2. I've already put the question up top. And by the way, there isn't anything that pertains to this one, but if I wanted to, just like anything else in Moodle, it's a normal Moodle box, so I can add pictures, I can add video, I can add anything in here in the question. You could have them literally watch a question and answer the question for that one question. So I've had teachers ask that before. How do you do video response stuff? You do it right in the question. It's easy. Okay, so I set my default points as 2. That's a technique. I think they should be worth more than true or false. The default is that only one answer is correct. So one or multiple answers, only one answer is correct. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say the first one I fill in is worth 100%. In other words, I always put the right one in first, and then I have to look at my things. Actually, the right answer here is that all of these statements are correct. Oops, that's in the feedback. I need to put it up there. Okay, so this is true or false where they're all correct. And I've got a whole list of things that are true about solid state drives. So I'm going to put those in my other choices. So under choice, the first thing you put in is the thing that the students will see. Choice 4. So in this case, I've got 4 choices. You can see that it says 5 down here, and I can add even more if I want to. So I'm going to save, And, oh, what didn't I fill out? Save and continue, default, choice 1, 100%. Didn't like something. What didn't I like? What didn't I hit there? Save changes. Okay, there we go. So, I'm going to come back to this question because there's something that some people will do differently. So, here's the question. Here's the preview of the question, and it's going to say, which of the following is true about SSD drives? I really should make it SSDs because the D drives is SSD. So I need to change that question. So, here's what they see right now. These will be randomized all the time. They are faster than conventional drives. That's true. They use less power than conventional drives. True. They're more expensive than conventional drives. True. So the most correct answer is all of these are true. However, what if they click this one? Should they get partial credit? Is that answer true? It's not the most correct answer,
No.
but it is a correct answer. So I'm going to go one further with this question. Right now, if they click this, they get 0 points. If they click this one, they get full credit. I will tell you that my personal opinion on this is that that's 33%, that's 33%, that's 33%, and that's 100%. That's how I'd like to score it, okay? Because, yes, these are not the most correct, but they are correct. So I'm going to go back in and change the question and show how that's done, because that's really going to relate to our next one that we do, which is one with more than one correct answer. So, which is the following is true about SSDs? That is, and a question mark would make that actually more correct grammatically for me. Okay, so right now we say if you say all of these are true, they get 100%. But what about this one? It is a true statement. So you can also say, hey, that one's worth 33%. This one's worth 33%. This one's worth 33%. In other words, if they say any of the other ones, you could give them, I get 30. You could give them partial credit. It's not full credit. Now, here's the problem with that. If I do that, there's no way not to get points for this question. No matter what they click, they will get some points. So that is a teacher discretion thing. What's your thoughts?
You could actually, at this point, which ties into the next one, is add another one that says none of these.
Okay, I could say none of these, but how do you go against all of these and none of these? Are kids, I've never done that, are kids smart enough to say none of these does not include all of these? Or all of these does not include none of these, and I mean, do I have to say all of these, except for none of these, is correct, right? I mean, I don't know. I've never done that before.
Yeah. And the one thing you can't do on this, because he has it at Scramble, is you can't say A, B, and C.
Right.
Because A, B, and C won't always be where you think it's
right. They're changing every time. So that's the only thing about doing this and trying to be nice and say, well, you kind of got a Jimmy. I don't have Jimmys in my class, but because there's no wrong answer, right? You just said, well, if you want to get it 100%, you have to say all. So I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I'm just saying it's something that I have seen teachers do. But my problem with it is just that they get points no matter what. They could know nothing and still get points in this question.
You could actually, instead of saying all of these, just put one of them in, put another question in that's just completely bogus.
Well, so I'm just going to say that I wanted to point that out, but as we talked about this, I decided that I don't like that option. They're only going to get points. They're in high school. They have to get the right answer to get points.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to they have to get them all right to get them right. But let's go to the other kind of question then. That's one option. I just wanted to point out those nuances. I do frequently, not on all of these, but I do frequently give partial credit for that's technically true, but it wasn't really answered what I was asking. So you might have one that's worth 100%, and then one that's okay, who's phrased a little ugly. I'll give partial credit for that one. To have one worth 50%, the other one's worth 0. One of them has to be worth 100% though, no matter what. When you're adding a multiple choice,
or if you have multiple ones, they have to
add up, right? And that's the next we're going to do. We're going to add a new question. We're going to do a multiple choice, and this one is going to be multiple choice, multiple answers. So I'm going to put my I can statement in there, number in there. That's supposed to be the word R. Hopefully I said I'll write that down. Is okay. So I'm going to put the actual question in this one because I can read it. I might not do this one. That doesn't belong. So I'm going to have this down here. So which of the following are true about SSDs? And then I always add this, and I know that I don't have to, but I frequently even highlight it, bold it, underline it, so that they catch that there's more than one, or maybe more than one correct answer.
They should know this from going through middle school, but the question itself visually looks different.
Okay, so I'm going to say 2 points again. And then we're going to go, instead of multiple answers, or single answer, I'm going to hit multiple answers. Oh, and by the way, you could say A, B, and C. I could unshuffle them right there for those people that don't know. That is default checked, but I could uncheck that and say A and B are correct as choice C, and choice D, you know, A, whatever.
Yeah.
I could do that.
For that one question.
For that one question. That only unshuffles. And if you don't like the choices, by the way, on multiple choice, you have all these other options of way to number it. I don't ever mess with those. Okay, so let's look at the choices here. So they are more expensive than conventional drives. That is true. Okay, that's one of my true answers. And there's only 2 of these that are true, so I'm going to make that one worth 50% because it has to add up to 100 if they pick all the right answers. They are faster than conventional drives. That is also a true statement. So in choice number 2, I'm going to put, and I always go from the true ones to the false ones. That's technique. You can put false ones. So right now, they have to pick this one to get half the point, this one to get half the point. If they don't pick those 2, they're not going to get full credit. And now we come down to choice number 3. They use more power than conventional drives. That is a false statement. They use less. So right now, I'm going to leave it at none because we're going to talk about this. And then I'm going to put the 4th one. They last longer than conventional drives. That is also not true. It's one of the reasons people don't use them for servers. Okay. Now these are untrue, and right now, if you clicked every single answer, you'd get full credit because you get plus half, and then these don't even count. So that's why the wrong answers we have to make minus points to offset the guessers. So this one's now worth minus half, and this one's now worth minus half. Now, if they click every single one of these questions, as it is right now, they will get 0 points, right? They get 2 plus 50s, 2 minus 50s. If they pick 1 right and 1 wrong, they will get 0 points because they got plus 1 and minus 1 and they cancel each other out. The only way to get partial credit on this is to answer one of them, of the 2 correct ones, and not the other one. That's okay. That's okay with me.
There is something that you could do is to actually answer one of the correct ones and 2 of the incorrect ones.
Well, that would just be 0. It doesn't ever give you negative though. If you did that, I mean, basically, if you don't get, if you got 2 right and 1 wrong, you'd get half, 2. So there are some nuances, I guess, is the thing. But the only way to get credit, the whole point, is answer the 2 that are right and not answer the 2 that are wrong. Anything else is some kind of partial credit. Now, if I had hit save and there hadn't been 100%, in fact, I'm going to go to that question again. Let's see, is this? Okay, so this is our question that we just saw. Did I hit an enter there? That should be up there. I'm going to have to look at the question. That should be on the line. And those are all jumbled around. Oh, and I guess what Dan is saying, if you look at this one, see how there's circles? Circles only let you pick one thing. That's why I said you can tell the difference. Squares let you pick more than one thing, which the kids would have to know. I don't know that I've ever pointed that out to my kids, ever.
If I had them, I did.
They did. I don't know that I've ever
Will they
pointed
have
that out.
remembered? Who knows? But you could point that out to them as well. You know, they might pick up.
I will say that I've never pointed that out to my kids. So let's go back down here and let's see. Did I have an enter in
Because I even told them too. Just because it says you can pick more than one doesn't mean you should. So I have actually made it where there's only one answer, but the boxes are squares.
One of these, I've got to have an enter in front of them or something. Oh, right there. There's the one with the enter. I getting a... I'm going to do, look at the code. I'm going to copy this. And if I go to the code button, I'm going to delete all that and then drop the text right back in there, and that should fix that. Okay, so I'm going to hit save and continue editing just to get rid of that. I wanted to show you what happened, or demonstrate for everybody what happens if you don't add to 100. If I, for instance, make this accidentally 40%, now there's no way to get 100% on this because this one's worth 40 and this one's worth 50. If I try to go and save this one, it's not going to work. If I go back to, you notice how it didn't come back, and I go down to the bottom, it says, the positive grades you've chosen do not add up to 100%. Instead, they add up to 90%. You're a big dummy. That's all they forgot to put on there. So it will not let you finish the question unless it's worth 50%. Now, I do use these a lot because I think they require a little more thought than multiple choice. I do multiple choice, multiple answers quite a bit. Any other points on this, on the multiple choice, multiple answer? I mean, and again, you can have tons more choices. Nothing is limited to 4. You could have, pick the 2 most correct statements and have 10 statements. Yeah, that would be. I don't like making.
I haven't gone that far.
I don't like making it too crazy, but you could.
I think 6 is about as far as
I could think up some really crazy things to put on a multiple choice just to suck. I mean, I make up computer terms just to see if anyone's paying attention, and then we're like, yeah, I picked NPX. I'm like, there's no such acronym.
Well,
right?
if you pick one actually where that's not scrambled, you go A and B but not C, and then one that's an answer that's C and B but not A. You can just sit there and
hey,
try
we
to
should take attendance and see if Sharon stayed with us or if she walked away.
I think she planned on actually emailing us.
Oh, well,
I don't see it.
She's not in there? Okay.
I know it's sad.
Or she's like, oh, he said email. I am out of here. I'm here, send. Doo, doo, doo. Let's see if the phone rings. Sheriff, if you hear her, call. No, she won't get that for 2 minutes, so. Anyway, okay, so that's it for multiple choice, multiple answers. The next one is matching. And I do a lot of matching questions. I think those are good for pulling out stuff. So I'm going to go down here to matching. This is the last one over, and plus essay that we're going to do today. So actually, we probably have time to do more, but I'll stick with what I said we we're going to do. So matching, same thing. You guys are a hoot. We just want to see if you're paying attention. Okay, so matching question says match the following. That's all I really have to put in here. Match drive info. And then I'm going to say match the following. Okay, so when I do matching, by the way, I do points conducive. She forgot she's still on the phone. Matching conducive to the number of points, number of questions that I think there is. She hung up before I got over there. So I'm going to have at least 4 matching. I won't go too crazy. I'm not going to make it worth 10 points or anything. But so that's about the most I ever make it. I don't know.
Now, as he's putting this stuff in, though, is if you were doing this for yourself, you're not going to have the same display setup that Brian has on here. Chances are you're going to have each tab actually opened up in separate windows, right, so that you can actually drag and drop from one window into the next.
Yeah, it's easy.
It'd go a lot faster, but it would be really hard for you guys to actually see on a video.
Yeah.
For it.
So here's some of my matching things. So I'm going to put an answer, a question with an answer. It depends on what you want to be on what side. But so all the things under questions will be on one side of their test, and all the things on answers will be in the drop downs to select. So I'm gonna just put this SSD drive, and it has no moving parts. So that's the thing I want them to match together on that. Slowest RPM on a conventional drive, and that is 5,400 RPM. And fastest speed for consumer grade conventional drive is 7,200 RPM. Here we go. You can see I stopped at 3, but boom, I hit blanks for more questions and I get more spots down there. So faster RPM equates to faster access time.
You'll be going back and changing your value for this one because it's 5.
What? What?
You see how there's 5 questions?
Oh, you don't have to, as long as you don't do the last one. In fact, you can keep going. I'll show you. Slower RPM equates to slower access time. And then I'm going to put some extra answers in with no extra questions.
You already have, you're valuing this question at 4.
Oh, no, that's what I said. 4 is usually my max. Even if there's more than that,
even if there's more,
that's
okay.
my personal thing. I don't make them worth twice as much as, they're worth twice as much of a multiple choice, but when I get into 5 and higher, this is my thing, that's essay questions. So I don't want one question to be worth 10 times another question. Because then if they get it wrong, they get destroyed, right? If they pick a couple wrong things, so 4 is my max I use for a normal question. That's, unless it's an essay, then I'm diving deeper, or a graphics one that we'll do next time. So that's me. So I can, right now I've got 5 questions and 5 answers. In fact, I'm gonna save changes right here and show you what it looks like right now. So right now I get the matching where they get the question and all these are randomized. I don't like having 5 answers for 5 questions. I like having more answers to make sure they're not just doing the process of elimination, therefore the answer must be this. Because then they get an answer just from the process elimination. They could not know this at all, but if they've already eliminated the other 4 choices, they get a freebie answer. No. I don't do that. Homie, don't play that game. So I'm going to go and I'm going to add some more. So I'm going to go here to my matching and I'm going to give some extra answers down here. So I'm going to say blank for 3 more questions because it went back to 5. And now I'm going to go down here and add some more answers. No more questions. I'm going to add 10,000 RPM. Oh, if I can type. I'm going to add 15,000 RPM. Those are... And I'm going to say has no effect on access time. All those have nothing to do with RPM of a drive. Okay, so now I've added 3 more things, and you know what? Here's one thing I normally add up here. Match the following. You may use each answer just only once. Sometimes I didn't know that. Okay, they should know that. It's matching, but so I make sure I add that. You may use each answer only once. Now I'm going to hit Save Changes, and we'll look at it. So now it's the same question, it's the same answers, but now I have all these extra choices here that they actually need to know more about the information. That's me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I do not think you want to ever put something in there where they have the same answer.
I've done that accidentally before, and it's abysmal. Because then you have to hand grade everything, because they could pick, if there was the same answer, they could pick the same one here and here, and it doesn't know which one was the right answer. So you don't ever want to have something that can apply more than once. And sometimes I have to go through it and say, okay, slowest RPM conventional drive.
Yeah, because while you look at it and say that it is, that's the correct answer, it may actually be thinking it's the answer that's tied to a separate, different question. So for you and I, just reading it as words, Moodle reads it actually as the code for that particular phrase.
Yeah, so here's a good example of, okay, SSD drive, has no effect on access time. Well, that's not true, because the SSD drive access is way faster, so that would be a bad, but here's one, faster access time. An SSD drive does have faster access time than other drives, so I need to rethink my answers, because that is true there. This is not the answer I had intended, but it's one somebody who didn't read very well. Oh boy, see, because I really wanted them to say no moving parts, but what if this one was first, the first one they came to, and they saw fastest access time? they might bite off on the wrong. I'm not sure how I can rename this so that they know it's no moving parts.
The nice thing is that when you actually could go back and review a test once it's been done.
I don't like doing that. I know you can override the grades and you can give them points.
Yeah, no, just go for a regrade. Change the question, all right, slightly, all right, in order to give it that as a possible answer.
Yeah.
All right, and then tell Moodle to regrade it, and it'll update the new score.
I guess what I'm getting to here, for Sharon and anybody else who's watching, is that you really have to look at your questions again, because sometimes the students will think in a slightly different way. And SS3 faster access time, definitely true. So how do I make SSD drive and no moving parts? SSD drive has, I can't use the word has because that has that faster access time. It's still going to be true. So SSD drive has, you know what? I'm going to change this question. So instead of saying no seeker head, so I'm going to say. So then that one is, oops, that one is true. Because I hate it when the kids go, oh, this was true. And you go, yeah, okay, you're right, SS3. No seeker head. That's the only one that can possibly be true for. Although you could still say faster access time for this one. But then what would you put down for these higher RPM?
You could have also broke this up into two separate questions.
Well, yeah, I'm putting too much together. Is a kind of memory. They can't say that with any of the other ones. So I'm gonna leave it with. See, I still have the other one. The faster one still applies to this. Slow, and now I'm really slow. I didn't think that way all the way through.
Actually,
equates to. Can I just delete SSD drive out of this question and will it?
Yep.
Can I just do that? Because that really, I don't want. Okay, so let me look at it again. It's too confusing. Slower RPM. So now it's just about our RPM question. That's all this is. It's a good question. I'm back to liking this question. The SSD thing made it confusing.
Now you can make one with just drives.
I could. Well, I've already got two multiple choice on SSD, so I really didn't need to hit that again. In fact, this one really is not ICANN 710. It's really on. I'd say 7.8. That's really a 7.8 question. So I'm gonna fix this one to match the ICANN statement it goes with. There we go. Okay, so there's matching. The last one we said we were going to talk about is essay. So essay questions, I don't use short answer anymore. I always had to go, I don't know what your feeling is, but I always had to go back and hand grade them anyway. So they're not worth my time trying to auto grade. I'd rather just go through with essay questions and grade the essay questions on my own. So here's my essay question. I'm going to go ahead and create an essay question. Then you can give me your opinion on those because that's why I really hate them anymore. So I'm going to add a new question. I'm going to add an essay question. This means hand grading, but you can obviously look for deeper. I'm going to just say why SSD. Purchase SSD, and this one is a 710 as well, kind of. It's really at 7.8 through 710. So this is 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops, that's not right. Okay, the only other thing I have to do on an essay question is say how many points, and usually essays are 5 for me. Because they're supposed to sit there and think about it and type something in. I'm not going to have them do a True or false? Let's see. Require the student to enter text. Yes. Text is optional. How could it be optional on an essay question? I guess you could drop a picture in there. They can answer with the picture. I didn't think about that. Allow attachments. No. Input size 15 lines is more than enough. I'm going to hit save changes. And there we go. So the essay question looks like this when it opens up. They have a regular text box that they can go and answer. Your thoughts on essay questions? Do you have any inputs on essays?
They're very simple, and really, the one thing that has an advantage over actually writing them, handwritten ones, is that you can read them. Yeah.
I'm gonna yes, that you actually can.
Yeah,
read them.
there's no chance of actually misunderstanding what somebody typed.
I'm gonna go to a previous quiz and show you how you grade essay questions. So this last activity in this section was a short. It was a 1 point. They basically read through this and then answered one question. But here's how you grade them. So this is a test module. So when I go to here under results, the thing that I want to do is go to manual grading. Now, when I do manual grading, I've graded all this, but it's gonna say over here, when I first started, because only 8 students have done this, it would say 8 students to grade, and then it would say 0 graded and 8 total. And then as you grade them, the number goes down here and the number goes up here. But when I click there, it's going to look exactly the same as when I click here. When I click update grades, it lists as many as you want them to. You see it right now, it says list 5. You could say list 30, have them all on one page if you want to. You can say order them randomly by name, however you want to. So I'm going to hit change options, and now all my students are down here. So I go under here and it says list 2 ideas concept that were covered, reviewed in the video. So they typed in there. I have a spot to comment back, and then I just give them a point. This was just, did you watch the video? Tell me what you learned. Okay. So it's same thing here. As I go down, it says they just responded inside the text area. And the reason I like this is because I can just scroll down, grade. And if I want to comment, I can. Sometimes I have canned comments. Okay, good point. So, but the nice thing is, when I'm doing this, I won't go down again. Can I not go down? I'm gonna have to cut out this section.
To preview?
Yeah. When I go to edit quiz, I'm sorry, where am I at? Results, manual grading. By the way, Sharon, I'll have to cut this out. I wasn't even thinking that I'm actually showing students right now. So I'll have to cut this whole thing. Even there, it's going to show it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way for me to not show it. There isn't. There's no way for me to talk my way through how to grade these and not have it showing actual names. I mean, it's only a 1 point thing, but you're right. I don't know. I don't know how important it is that somebody would see that. I
don't know if really anybody can actually get to it. But well, here's the thing: is that that is not the word I'm looking for.
I know what you're saying. That is not whatever data.
Register?
Directory data, because that's really nothing that's student. If it was their social, it definitely would be, right? Yeah. Or their address or their phone number. But
you can't show directory information.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's okay. So I guess it would be
it
would be considered directory information. But so we're really not showing anything. I'm not about the student.
Yeah.
So, and Sharon's the only one who's ever going to see it anyway. No one else is watching. Anyway, so you can see how easy it is to just go through, hit manual grading, go down and grade them all, and give feedback. And like I was about to say, I'll have some canned feedback sometimes ready that I'll just copy and paste into the feedback so that they know. So I think 7:25, that's it. Is this concerning our class?
Sharon?
It was her. She was watching. She's going to be like, you hung up on me. Sorry, Sharon. So I'll just cut out the end of this. I don't think that that's a big deal because it's not. personally identifiable
Are you
information.
planning on going into short answer?
No, I was not planning on going through short answer.
It's like short answer is actually more complicated.
It is, and that's why I hate the short answer question.
Okay, yeah, it is concerning the class.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to talk when you call.
Well, I was waiting till I got, and then it cut me off.
That's because I cut you off because you were just sitting there for a minute and a half. What's up? Are you getting her? She says she's trying to chat on YouTube. Are you watching? You can go ahead and tell me. I'm on the phone. We're here for you, Miss Harkrunner. So what's your question?
I got nothing.
Yeah, you have to concentrate on me for while we're on the phone.
Can she see my
Yes.
reading?
Well, that was the. Yeah, they have to come into the test and they'll be able to see the feedback. Yep, that place where I was just saying that I cut and paste feedback right back in there. That's what they see when they come back into the test to review see their grades and they get that feedback. Yep. Not in a test. There's no mark on. There's no way like you can do on a submission to have them see the actual markup on the test. Like if she wanted to edit and say highlight stuff on their feedback, there's no way to do that in the quiz module, is there? I think it's a good question, but I don't think there's any way to do that.
No, you can't actually.
You could. Or you can copy and paste theirs right into your comment and then highlight it. You can do that. You just can't do it on their text. You can copy and paste. If I'll do it right now on the thing. I'll show you. Okay, so that's a good question. She's like, I'm a language arts teacher. If they do a write-up and they do an essay, how do I give them feedback on the essay that makes sense? You can't do like you do with like the activity module where you can comment in line. However, you can. If I go in manual grading and I'm going to look at all grades, if I had a comment on something a student wrote, I can easily highlight this, just hit Control-C, Control-V, and then I can go in here and comment in line with whatever. So if I had a problem with this thing that they said, I could go and I could highlight that, and then I could, well, that's changing the font color, the one next to it's the highlighting. There we go. I can highlight that, and then I could, comment on it so they would see my highlights or my text or something. I could also switch fonts if I wanted to, or highlight my own words and tell them, hey, what I said's highlighted next to what you said, so you know the difference, as long as the kids know that. That's a great way to comment straight back on a writing assignment.
And it's full functioning. You can even have links that actually go, the reason why this is incorrect, and then have.
Oh right, you could go and have this link to improper proper MLA procedure here or something that you had done before.
You got bullets that you use, bold,
right.
Everything that you could want is actually
everything you can do anywhere else in Moodle you can do right here. So you're right, that's a good point too. So it is 3:30. It's the end of our class. Do you have anything else you want to add? Next time we're going to go into the more advanced question types. So I'm going to go ahead and jump down here to where I was working at in the first place. So, in fact, I'm planning on, for this very purpose, not adding any more. I'm going to get off track and not do do this test, so we can go into some of the more advanced ones. Down here, we're going to look at the drag and drop into text, the drag and drop into markers, and the drag and drop image. Those three next time we'll take a whole class, and those are great questions. So I use all three of those. So we're going to do those next class.
So you're going to full on skip over the.
I'm here.
Over the what?
The short answer. Or
Yes, I was planning on full on skipping over because I hate short answers. I think they're too confusing on grading. Would you agree?
It depends on how you set it up.
I mean, you know what? We can skip over that, go to these, and we can come back.
I'll say, if you wish to actually use that, we may go over it at some time, but you have to be exactly precise in the exact answer you want. Because if there's any ambiguity in it, you don't want to use
Yeah,
it.
and that's why I don't like them, because I've tried them and I've constantly failed with those. Did I answer your question there? I don't know. Did you get any of her comments on the chat?
No, and I'm on live chat. You can even look if you like.
Uh-huh. Yes, that was, in fact, that was brought up last time with, when we did the other one, that was a good reason to not shuffle them. The other thing is, though, do they need to? Because with Moodle quizzes, if they're using Chrome and read and write for Chrome, the kids can put on headphones and have a great question read to them independently. So that's one of the great things. Oh yeah, it works great. So that's one of the great things about having your stuff online in the first place. If they're using Chrome and they add the read and write for Chrome app, they can put on headphones, it'll highlight every word as it reads through them, they can have it reread each of the answers if they want to. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the way you're doing it, but it's one more thing that one of the things that we've been talking about in our UDL discussions is the fact that we should teach every kid how to do that, not just the IEP kids, because if I'm behind on reading and I've not been identified, that doesn't mean I might not need that support on those kind of questions. So. Okay. Okay, bye. Okay, we're done. And I can't find my mouse, it's on the wrong screen. There we go. Alt.